Nerd Reactor, roll out.
All right. Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Very
Good.
good.
Great. How
How
are
are
you?
you?
Yeah. So, watching this movie, I really enjoyed it because usually Nerd Reactor, we cover a lot of the big tentpole films. I'm like, this too shall pass. I'll check it out, I'll see what it's all about. And I was like, oh, yeah, 80s love letters, just all the references, and then the characters, the performances, and I really enjoyed the dialogue. And so I guess first question for you, Rob, is because you've done horror films, tense films, and all of a sudden this. So how?
Yeah. We were right in the middle of the COVID bubble. And I couldn't figure out what to make next. I met a producer who is the real life Simon, and he's asked me if I wanted to come on board to write his story. And I was like, I just made a movie about three people on a boat trying to eat each other. I don't know if I'm the right fit. And it just so happened that more we talked, I found more similarities with the tension of horror in how teenagers treat their social life and their dating life. And I kind of used that as my in. It then led me to, I've always had been trying to figure out a way to tell a story about a guy that wanted their life to be more like these movies. And as soon as I realized that I was kind of all of these characters, it poured out of me in a really, really a quick way. Um, and it felt like the right time. It was very cathartic for all these little story ideas to just line up at once and kind of shoot out of me.
Oh yeah, and I guess Maxwell and Jeremy just being in this project, like set in the past. What was that like for you in like figuring it out? Like, I think teenagers are the same back in the day than they are now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Max.
Sure. A lot of talks with my parents and my uncles. But no, yeah, I mean, listen, we really did want to do justice to the time period, and I think Rob was such a great captain in that, in defining a very clear vision of what we were going for the 80s, not this dramatized version of it, but a real grounded version, not relying on neon lights and hairspray, but relying on the real, like, kind of mired feeling that I think a lot of kids had in terms of this disconnect between them and their parents. And um, certainly something that I think sets growing up in that time period apart to nowadays for the most part. I think um, there was such a big cultural divide between the, I guess, silent generation parents and then the Gen X kids. But I think we did also really make maybe not conscious effort. I think it just kind of happened naturally. Um, to make this just feel timeless too. Like you don't have to be born in the 80s to enjoy this film. Because really at the end of the day, it's a group of friends who are completely different from one another, figuring out who they want to be and what they want to be when they grow up, whether it's a lemonade vendor or a rock star.
We're
Figuring
making
that out.
bricks.
Yeah, and relying on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was basically gonna be my answer was like, yeah, I mean 80s is very, very prominent in that, but that's mostly in the shooting and the storytelling itself. But the story itself is timeless, and we were telling a story that doesn't have to do with the time period, and so it can be told in the 60s and modern times, So um it was it was awesome, and I've done 80s kind of stuff that's I've kind of gotten pigeonholed into the 80s horror remakes, so I've been there a couple times. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we had a great ensemble, and so it made it easy. But yeah, telling a timeless story in the 80s setting was very neat.
And was there a particular thing from the 80s that you really enjoyed, whether it's the just something that's in the 80s or like a product of the 80s, for example, like, vinyl records or like the old school TVs? Like what would you want to have now?
Sure. You want to?
Sure. I love vinyl records. That's definitely my thing. I love collecting them. I think that's really unique, and we have like album covers and stuff like that, but people really get to show their creativity through the actual design of the vinyl record. And I think that's really cool. And I love the slang. All the slang is really cool.
Yeah, definitely the slang and vinyl records is up there for me. We had some pretty neat rides on the set too, like that really cool white stretch limo. We had a really cool 944
Hmm.
on the set. But I think the top thing for me would be the music. My way into a character is always through making a playlist for that character. And for this one, I mean, it was right there for us. Sometimes you have to get creative with the music, like I've done World War II movies, and like you kind of got to go deep and get creative with that. But for this one, I mean, it was right there and such an immediate way in through The Cure, and it was great.
Yeah. For me, it's no cell phones. Last group growing up without cell phones.
Yeah,
And Max touched upon it, but it's like my recollection of late 80s into the early 90s is, we're in the heart of Reaganomics. There was
yeah,
about to be a stock market crash, and the entrance of the grunge era. It wasn't very polished and slick. It was kind of tobacco soaked wood walls and carpets for me. So for me, it was the enjoyment of using that as the environment of these teenagers that are not having a good time to kind of heighten everyone's angst.
Yeah. And one of the things I love about this film is the references to John Hughes movies, and it doesn't like there's references, but then it it's his own movie too. So what was that like? I guess for each of you in terms of whether you balance things out on making it your own, but also being a tribute.
sure,
Who goes first? I'll go first.
yeah, sure.
Sure. Yeah, it was interesting in that I mean, a lot of movies nowadays are guilty of doing the wink to the camera. Hey, we know that we've treaded this territory before, but we're going to make a joke of it. It was important to me that this just lived in a universe where the teenagers were aware of these movies because they were the first generation that grew up with television and VHS cassettes. So obviously they would reference the same way we have conversations now. We're like, oh, this is so much like this. And then it was just important to me. I think the key for me was having a lead character that desperately wanted that escape of that universe to be his way out of what he deemed is his lack of autonomy. So, there's obviously there's nudges to them, but it's more in a sense of the optimism of youth. The guy's just trying to find any way he can to get out of his situation, and luckily movies are the things that he latched onto that he thinks is the way out.
Yeah, I mean, I would really latch onto that same answer. I think part of it also was, yeah, we were acknowledging the fact that all of these are like incredibly uh, historic. It's like a historic time period in terms of setting the tone for the rest of American pop culture, and American media, but I do think we do it in a, I think, unique way. I think bringing in the aspect of faith-based guilt and finding autonomy from that, like you said, Rob, and breaking free from that, and really finding the battle for what it means to be good with that. I think that's a message that we can plant in any time period, really. I think that's just a human story. So I think that's kind of a way that it sets itself apart, in that, yes, it's set in the 80s and it's got all these nods to historic um, movies and songs and pop culture moments that anyone can pick up on if they were raised them. But um, I think at its core, it's a story about determining just who you want to be when you grow up, and wanting to be a good person and do something worthwhile, and feeling like you're unable to do that in the confines that you've been given.
Ditto. I don't know how to give a more graceful answer than that, unfortunately. So yeah, it's very well said. I agree.
Yeah, and each of you have been like in these big like just or genre projects. For example, Jeremy, you're in It, and Max, Lost in Space. So I was wondering if there was like something from those projects that really stood out for you in terms of like just how big of a scope it is.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, when you say big of a scope, what exactly
Could be anything,
do
like
you
in
mean?
terms of like the set or just a movie in general, a franchise. Just
Yeah, I mean it's incredible. I love both sides of the coin when it comes to that kind of thing. The last two movies I've done have been much smaller scope, much smaller budget, and I think it's very interesting when, like with It we had like 4.5 months to film that, and with this we had about a month. So it's very interesting when you want to tell the same length of story but have such little time, and I think that's when true amazingness is created, is when everyone is going towards the same goal and we all know that we have to strap down and do it this way or no way, and we're all working towards that and are all on the same page, I guess, is very cool. When you're working on the big scope projects, it's like, okay, yeah, we'll do that tomorrow, or we'll fix that in post. And that's Rob's biggest thing is like, we're not fixing anything in post. We fix it right now or never, because we don't want to do that. Obviously, like, why push it to post when you can fix it now? And so I love that idea of that everyone is there to get the movie done.
Yeah, I mean, like Jeremy, I've been doing, both sides of the coin for the last few years, like whether it be, kind of big genre pieces, or then you get down to, smaller indie films, and there's upsides to both, I think. I mean, on a big budget, sure, you get like a really nice trailer, and then like you got a million PAs that make you comfortable on set, and you're filming in a massive studio lot that can be fun sometimes for sure. But I think really where you get to flex your muscles as an actor the most is on those smaller budget, more intimate shoots with a smaller crew, because you're not. Yes, you're just, there to be the actor, but it feels like you're there for so much more. Like sometimes you have to be your own PA, and sometimes you really have to speak on behalf of your character because there's so much going on. You're doing so much in a day that you have to be so much more of an expert on yourself and what you're there to do that day. And I think it's also where true camaraderie is formed, in that you're pushing long days, filming a lot of scenes in one day, a lot of pages, and you really got to learn fast how to work with someone, and be the most open you can possibly be. Um, I I think that as an actor, doing stuff like that is the most rewarding. I think certainly getting to that whole TV is the writer's medium, and then film is the director's medium and the actor's medium, and certainly independent film is I find oftentimes the most rewarding because you sacrifice so much of yourself for it.
So it's kind of like that collaborative effort. Yeah, I
For
can
sure.
feel it. But that's all the time I have. But I just say thank you for taking the time for doing the interview, and I'm gonna tell everyone about this movie as many people as I can because I really enjoyed it. But take care.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you
John.
so
I
much.
really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
see ya. All right, how's it going, everybody?
Great,
Good,
man.
good.
Great.
Thanks for having
Happy to
us.
be
Yeah,
here.
no,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you
Thanks
for having
for
us.
thanks for doing this. And this too shall pass. 80s love letter. Lots of references to John Hughes. And for each of you, what was that like? Going back in time, playing teenagers from the past compared to being teenagers in more recent times. Who wants to go first?
Wanna go first? Take it away, Jaylin.
Okay, well, at the time of filming, I was actually a teenager. Like I just turned 17, so it's just like I was sort of living both lives, and it was amazing. I mean, I recently watched Breakfast Club for the first time before I
Ooh.
filmed that movie, so I just felt like just overall the essence was so good. And it's like going in a time machine and, just having this blast. Like, I felt like I was living the same life my dad was. Like it was really great.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, I was not a teenager shooting this, but it was like a few years beforehand, and it honestly felt like we were teenagers. To be honest, I was saying like it was so much fun just making this. Like every day was just fun, and it was with like these new friends that we all kind of met and made in real life, and also in the movie at the same time, and we kind of just got to mingle and do the thing in
Yeah.
that time frame. So yeah.
No, it definitely felt like going back to high school a little bit. Just I don't know, it's even because we did so many night shoots, there was just kind of like a sleepover energy sometimes when everyone was like having giggles and stuff and just like staying up late eating snacks, but we're actually making a movie, which was like the dream. And yeah, no, it was just a blast. It was a blast working on this, and we had a lot of great reference points to look at for other 80s teenagers that we could study in all the John Hughes movies and stuff. But then also it was cool for my character. I don't want to spoil it, but also, you know, a character that's dealing with the exact same stuff as my character isn't always in those movies. So it was also really cool to get to do, you know, something a little bit new within that without giving them away too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's such like a timeless nostalgia. Obviously, like I don't think any of us went through the 80s in real life, but it's something like just being a teenager and so many of the themes that you can kind of relate to. And even like as a viewer, like I watched it recently for the first time. It was so amazing. And I think it's just and being there and being with people like around the same age and working together was just so special and such fun dynamics to witness too and see everyone getting along so well.
Yeah.
Like
Oh
yeah.
yeah. And I want to be honest, like with this being like an indie type movie, I was like, is this going to be good or not? And then after watching, I'm like, oh, I love this movie. So I love the story, the characters, the dialogue, and the casting. I think the casting is great. And so, not my question though. My question would be, in terms of, let's say for you, Nikki, you're like the catalyst for this, just for the guys to jumpstart their journey. So what was that like for you, just being a part of that role?
Oh, it was so exciting.
Yeah.
I was so excited to even get the director's session and then to be a part of it in whatever aspect. And I think it was such like it was one of my first movies ever doing too. So it was a totally different experience for me leaving Toronto for it and seeing and meeting everyone has been really special. So I'm glad that I got to be part of it and got to be a part of the story in whatever capacity. I'm so happy.
Oh yeah. And for the pack here, just going on a journey to Canada, and I don't know, like you guys do a lot of stuff. The partying, going to the bars. Like, I don't know, like if there's like a fond memory on the set for each of you.
I'm gonna say there was a scene. It was super late, and it was like one of the night shoots that we had like in a row, and it was so late, and we were like show up to set, and they've made like it's a really quick thing, but it's like the motel we show up at, and it's like all this like garbage and stuff. They made like this motel look terrible. Like they made it look like it was a zombie apocalypse because they were shooting like Last of Us same time, I think, and in Canada, and we just kept like losing it every time we would look at the set, like in the scene. They would go from there to us, and we like just kept laughing. Like how many times I was like, we didn't think that they got a shot of that, and then we watched it, and you kind of see us break just a little bit, even in the movie. But yeah, that's probably my favorite scene.
I was juggling between that memory and another one that happened like really close to that in the night shoot block. We were also all lined up in a row for that one. And there was this shot where this bus drives by and it's supposed to reveal all of us just kind of looking disheartened that we just kind of showed up at this place. And love the guy. Larry, who's our atmosphere guy, amazing, shout out Larry. He was hiding right behind the bus, and as the bus slowly pulled away, he was shimmying next to it, doing this with a smoke machine to get all like the smoke going out behind it, which makes the shot look great because there's real atmosphere and stuff. But the like timing of it was off a few times, so that like he would be revealed in the shot ever so slightly, or just watching the action of that shot. It kept on like making us break, and especially because it was like a reveal shot, it was very hard not to burst out laughing. And we didn't succeed in not burst out laughing quite a few times, but eventually we got it. But yeah, a lot of good giggles for sure.
There you go. Yeah.
Bro,
Jay-
I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. See, no, the one for me, bro. Okay, so this was like one of our last, I think it was like the last week of filming. We were filming in a scene. All I'll say is that it was in a limousine. And for some reason there was a lot going on, like just very overstimulating. It felt like a fever dream, but it was great though, because it's like it really matched the energy of the scene. But all of us in the van, we just couldn't stop laughing. And there was like 7 of us there. There was us group with the boys, and then it was also the girls too. We just could not stop laughing. It was just so much going on. I think we were drinking and smoking. It was a lot. Like it got to the point like
Fake stuff though.
Yeah.
Fake
Emphasis on
drinks.
fake drinking and smoking.
Yeah.
fake. Yeah.
Fruit
Because I
punch.
was deaf. a minor at the time. But anyways, yeah, so it got to the point where like Rob had to come in. He was like, "Listen, I love y'all, but like we gotta lock in." It was
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
it was
He
insane. It's
he
such a
was
fun day.
mad.
Yeah, we just couldn't stop laughing. I forgot what was so funny, but it was a trip.
Oh yeah, and I think all of you have been in projects like Hollywood type projects, and then this one's like indie project. So, what is it like for you? Like just the differences in working on like a set with like a bigger crew versus a smaller crew. Who wants to
Yeah,
go first?
let's go first.
I can dive in. I was really
Yeah.
excited for the opportunity. Just like as a Canadian, it was really cool to be a part of like an indie movie that, even though it was an indie film, we still had a decent budget and we had such a great cast and such a great soundtrack. And I didn't know any of those things would be the case going in. I didn't know. And so it was such an amazing surprise when I saw who I was familiar with so many of my co-stars before working on this. I was certainly familiar with the soundtrack. So I had no idea what to expect going in, but it was cool. I mean, at the end of the day, no matter the budget, you get into the same situation at the end of the day. We're all making something. When it's in front of the camera, you don't see how big the apparatus of the production is around you. You're just on that set. And so they do feel surprisingly similar regardless of budget when you're actually in the flow of shooting, I find.
I feel like one of the bigger differences, at least for me, is the amount of time that we got to have kind of together beforehand. And there was only like one other time I worked on something where I got like a substantial amount of time with everybody kind of before we started shooting. But this was like, like 2 weeks or something like that. And Rob made sure that we got there early to all kind of meet up and really get to know each other. And we got the time to go and hang out and become friends and, do the thing, which you can do on, the big budget stuff. But I feel like, I don't know, it felt more maybe, I don't know, just easier to do so when you get a little more time. So.
Yeah, it was my first time doing indie film, and I've done a few since. And I remember as soon as like day one for this film, I was like, I want to do another indie film. Like out of anything I could have booked, like or dreamed of, like it's endless. And it was always like, I want to do another indie. I think there's so much heart to it, and there's always like there is to others too, but it's like it's a passion project so much. There's so much at stake, and there's less people doing more jobs that they have to do, and and it's also like people want to be there. I feel like extra, like they're extra excited to be there because it doesn't matter the budget. Like they want to do it. They feel good about the project. They're excited. The people. It's just so it was really amazing. But yeah, it definitely opened doors where I was like, I could do indies for the rest of my life and nothing else, and I would be so pleased. Maybe before I would have thought that, but extra because of this film. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely what Nikki said. It's just like it's just and also what Ben said too. It's like we're all here to just tell this like beautiful, amazing story. Like the feature film that I worked on before this, it was just like a lot going on. It was my first ever feature film project, so I was just so nervous. I didn't know what to expect. But as Nikki was saying, there's such a bigger crew, so there's like so many people everywhere, and we're filming right in the middle of Times Square, so over 500 people are like watching you do the thing. So it can just be very intimidating. So those are also similar differences. And then you're also with all these freaking these A-listers. So it can be kind of intimidating at first. But overall, it's just like you're telling a story that's genuine and authentic and truly just like amazing and beautiful. And it celebrates life.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I'm doing on time, but I want to ask you one last question for each of you for the genre type movies. Let's say Jeremy for no, not Jeremy. Ben for Goosebumps, and then Jaylin, the feature film you're talking about, Armageddon Time, right? And then Nikki with the Ginny and Georgia, and and Aidan, you did Swiped. So fondest memory for each of those on those like bigger sets.
I would probably say just making some of my best friends, especially on Swipe. Like I had a small role on that, but I got to meet like two of my closest friends on that, and then on this I made some of my closest friends. Like I talked to Ben literally every other day, like yeah. And I'm about to see him and his friend Xander, whose birthday it is today. Shout out.
Shout out Xander. Happy birthday to my friend Xander.
Happy birthday.
Hey,
we're,
happy
we're
birthday.
staying with Aidan in LA very soon.
Yeah, they're staying
Yeah.
at my house. So like, I mean, and Jaylin and Jeremy and Maxwell and Nikki and Katie and everybody, like we had such a fun time shooting, and now we're all friends and see each other when we can. Yeah.
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 And then let's go, Jaylin. Let's go with you.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I think my favorite, there was a lot of good ones. Probably either between like playing around with Anne Hathaway or like doing TikTok dances with Anthony Hopkins. I think we had just amazing memories on that film. And then with this one too, it was so special because it's like it was my first time in Canada and I got to meet these amazing people, and some of them I've even seen on screen. And also like I know I'm young now, so I can't really do much, but it's just like I know these people, they're all in like amazing places in Canada and LA, so it's like I can't wait to really go to those places and see them more because we have amazing friendships, and we talk every now and then, and then we're always like texting on Instagram, so it's like these are like my buddies for life, and I can't wait to see them a lot, maybe once I'm more like on the West Coast as I get older. But yeah.
All right. Let's go, Nikki.
Yeah, working on Ginny and Georgia was so exciting because I felt like that moment I felt like an actor, even though I should have way before when I wanted to be an actor. You're an actor right away. But and I think the most exciting part of that was not having any idea where you're going with it, what you're doing, and finding your footing and being able to like ask people and rely on people and people wanting to uplift you and help you and people you know. So I think that was really, really fun. Yeah, it was very exciting.
Awesome. And last but not least, Ben.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had such a great time on Goosebumps. It was my first time. There's one episode of that show that I got to lead, and it was my first time getting to do something like that and getting that opportunity. And I remember one day it was all in like my character's house, and I got like these great two-handers with the guy who was playing my dad, Jonathan Silverman. It was basically just like a whole day. It was my first day where I got to feel like a lead performer before, and that was like a really great experience. And it also felt kind of like we were making an indie movie because the sets were quite cramped, so it felt like it was a smaller crew in those moments, and I forgot like that this was a big IP show and everything like that. And it was my first time really feeling like I was in the driver's seat before, so that was a really cool day. And then also I really loved the day they put me on wires and they shot me down a hallway in ghost makeup, and I like right at Justin Long, and it was like one of my first times meeting him, and I've looked up to him for years. And we got to chat about his movie Barbarian, which I'm a huge fan of, and I like watched it 3 times before I booked that. So
That
getting
movie
to like
is fucked up.
it's super messed up, and I love it. And he was like really down to talk about it with me, and I was quite excited about it. And yeah, it was very cool. We were like the 2 cast people that day, so we got to spend time together, and I got to fly on wires, which is like a lifelong dream. Who doesn't want to fly? So no, those are a couple good memories.
Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, that's all the time I have. I just want to say it's a pleasure chatting with you all. And I'm going to share the news of this movie being awesome to as many people as I can.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Yeah. Thank you, John. So
All
nice
right.
meeting you.
So
Same here.
nice meeting
nice
you.
meeting you.
See you later.
Take care.